Hello, my name is Carrie. Welcome to my tiny little kitchen. I have been cooking since Today we are making my original recipe for cinnamon cookie crisp. The first thing we need to do is turn the oven on to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. So the oven is turned on. This is the pan we'll be making the cookies in. And to start, we need 1 cup of room temperature butter. That's 2 sticks. And we will place the butter into our bowl. It's soft, so there's still butter on the wrapper. I'm going to take what's left over on the wrapper and use it to grease the bottom and sides of our pan so that our cookies will not stick. So that's nicely greased. Have 1 more stick of butter to put into our mixing bowl. This is a very simple recipe with very few ingredients. It's kind of a messy recipe, so you need to have freshly washed hands and no rings or jewelry on. And you'll see why in a little bit. I have 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm going to add that to our bowl. And I'm just going to stir the sugar and butter together. That's called creaming the ingredients until the sugar is completely mixed with the butter. The butter is completely mixed in. The next thing that we need to do is to separate an egg. We're going to crack it in half, and we're going to put the whites into 1 bowl. Very important not to get any of the yolk into the whites, and then the yolk is in a separate bowl. So here are the egg whites. Here is the egg yolk. We're going to add the egg yolk to our butter and brown sugar. And we'll mix that in real well. So you can see all of those ingredients are mixed. Our next step is with the sifter. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to place that into our sifter. And we'll just go ahead and sift the flour. That adds air to the flour, makes it lighter. All of our flour is sifted. Now, we're going to remeasure the flour. Because we added air into it, it should now measure to more than 2 cups. So we're going to measure it. There's 1 cup. Back into the sifter. And there is cup number 2. And you can see we have a little bit of flour left over. I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. We're going to add that to the sifter. And now we're going to sift the flour and the cinnamon into our bowl with the butter and sugar and egg. And there's the rest of the flour. I'm just going to stir this a tiny bit. Now the reason why this recipe is messy is because this recipe requires you to mix the dough lightly with your hands. And I don't like getting food onto my hands, but I do like these cookies, and so does my husband. So my hands are thoroughly washed, and I don't have any jewelry on. And before I started this recipe, I also soaked my fingers and cleaned under my fingernails. So now we have a dough. We're going to take that dough with our hands and put it into the pan and use our hands to spread the dough in the pan. It'll be a very thin dough. It's kind of sticky. It is not easy to work with. That's why I said it's so messy. But you want to use the palm of your hand to press the dough into the pan. So messy. This makes a cookie that is crisp on the edges and chewy in the center with a nice cinnamon and brown sugar flavor. our dough is in the pan. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, my hands are clean. Now we're going to use the egg whites, and we're going to beat them slightly, just a little bit. You can use a fork. I'm using a little wire whip, but a fork also works. My pan is a 9-inch by 15-inch pan. So there's the egg whites. I have a brush, but you can also use a spoon. And I'm going to brush the egg white. We want egg white to cover the entire top of the dough. It also helps to smooth the dough out a little bit when you're brushing the egg white on. So you could use a spoon, you could use a pastry brush like I am using, and I guess you could even use your hands, but I certainly do not want any more sticky stuff on me. Everyone that I have made these cookies for really likes them, and they are so simple to make. Well, the entire top of the dough has egg white on it and is smoothed out, and I even have a little bit of egg white left over that I don't need to use. I have 1 cup of chopped pecans. This is the bag they came from. These are pecan halves, and I just chopped them into pieces, and now I'm going to sprinkle the chopped pecans over the top of our cookie dough. You can use pecans or you can use walnuts. My husband likes pecans, so that's why I am using pecans. After you sprinkle the pecans on the cookie dough, use your hand to press the pecans lightly into the dough. Okay, our dough is ready to go into the oven. Our oven is heated to 275 degrees Fahrenheit, and our cookie dough will cook for 50 to 60 minutes. So in the oven they go. The timer just went off, so I'm going to check on our pan of cookies. It's been 55 minutes, and they look a little brown around the edges, but I think it should go back in for 5 more minutes, and then they should be done. So we'll set the timer for 5 more minutes. Our pan of cookies are ready to come out of the oven now. They're a nice golden brown, and they cooked for a total of 1 hour. I'm going to put them on a rack. Now you can use a knife or a pastry cutter, and while the cookies are still hot, cut them into little squares about 1.5 inches. So I've cut the cookies into little 1-inch squares. Now we'll let the pan cool completely, and after it's cooled completely, we'll remove the cut cookies from the pan. The cookies have had time to cool. My husband has tried a few, and he really likes them. After they've cooled, I cut through on the same lines where I cut before, and that just helps the cookies to come out of the pan. Because we used butter on the pan before we put our dough in, the cookies do a very nice job of not sticking to the pan. So they're tiny little squares of cookie. My husband likes them better warm. I like them better after they've been chilled in the refrigerator. These are cinnamon cookie crisp. Thank you for watching, and remember to always season everything you do with love.